Binational Indians. Since the arrival of the colonizers to America, many Indian tribes of northern Mexico lost not only their traditions, but their territory as well. From the 16th century, when most of the southern part of the United States belonged to Mexico, and most of that, along with the rest of the country, was Indian territory, every foreigner, from militaries to businessmen, wanted to have a piece of land of those new and rich domains. Sonora. European explorers visualized the opportunity of exploiting a vast territory known as the Yaqui Valley. One of the most productive agricultural regions in Mexico. 1533. The Yaquis warned the Spanish invaders about their territory limits. Enormous Indians described by the Spaniards would not make the things easier for the first colonizers. 1 century had to pass by in order to let the Spanish overcome those lands. However, what really helped them to conquer the Indians was to earn their trust. The strategy, the religion. New Catholic missions were established in the Indian territories, offering civilization along with a new belief that attracted the interest of the Yaquis in a pacific way. About that same period, many Indian tribes had been converted into Christianity. In most of the cases, the purpose was the same one: to conquer the Indian lands in a pacific way. But some tribes rebelled against the imposition of the foreigners. In 1781, the Quechans tribe killed a group of pastors and soldiers established in their lands. On the eastern side of what is now the Arizona state, the tribe of the Tohono O'odham was specifically converted into Christianity. Nowadays, the mission that the Father King established on the Papago territory is still functioning, and it is a place where not only the Tohono O'odham Indians exist, but also some Yaquis and non-Indian people do it too. The 1848 war separated a large fringe of Indian territories along the Mexico and United States international border. Great parts of the tribes that belonged to the Mexican ethnic groups are now also part of the American Indians. In 1822, the Kumeyaay tribe had lost control over all their coastal lands. The San Diego territory was then part of what it was at that time the Mexican government. The new border between Mexico and United States divided great river systems like the Colorado, which boundaries from its flows into the delta of the California Gulf, until the limits between Arizona and California have sheltered tribes like the Cucapá and Quechan. But there is also another tribe related to this region that is said to be associated with the Quechans.
There's a tribe of Kwan. They're called Kwan. They're southern Quechans. That's where my grandmother comes from, her people. My grandmother, my aunts, well, they passed away like in the 70s, and they spoke that language. I used to think it was like, listen to it, and I used to think, golly, because I can understand my language, and it was a little different. And I asked my parents, what are they speaking? And they told me that's what it was.
Different tribes like the Kwan, from which not much is known, have been associated among each other along the history. In 1849, the gold discovery in California had brought many immigrants to the region, along an area close to the Colorado River mouth and the Grand Canyon region, giving great importance to the Cucapá and Quechan zone in the United States. This new route that generated great affluence of people later on would bring benefits for some of the Indians. Due to their efficient knowledge about the river, men from the Cucapá tribe became worthy pilots and navigators, working in crafts along the Colorado River system. The panorama for the tribes that remained on the American side seemed to turn better for the Indians. On the Mexican side, things were getting worse. On the spring of 1908, it was published in North American and Mexican newspaper a federal decree in which President Diaz orders in a determined mode that all the Yaquis, be either men, women or children, wherever they may inhabit, had to be arrested by the War Ministry and extradited to Yucatan, south of Mexico. This persistent prosecution forced some of the Yaquis to flee to Arizona, where later on, the American government doted them with lands for their tribe. In present times, they have their own reservation, and they are formally recognized as the Pascua Yaqui tribe. Nowadays, traditional communities in the Mexican side struggle for their ancestral territory. The Yaqui community of Potam has solicited help with legal assessment to its Yaqui relatives in the United States.
Cuentan con recursos, cuentan con aparatos, cuentan con elementos técnicos, pero allá. Aquí también contamos, ¿no? Pero nada más que aquí está muy escaso el personal. Falta aquí presupuesto, falta aquí en qué moverse, pues. Cómo recorrer el territorio, que pues es bastante, no saben.
The American government has formally recognized all the native tribes that used to belong to Mexico before the 1848 takeover. The Papago name, which meaning reflects people that feed on peccary beans, has now been changed for Tohono O'odham, that represents desert people. After suffered from territory spoils, now the Tohono O'odham Indians count on well-delimited reservations and formally recognized by the United States laws, which lend them the right of having certain domestic laws that make of a reservation an autonomous place for the Indians. The protection that the American government has offered not only to the Tohono O'odhams, but to every native Indian in the United States, has brought great benefits for the binational Indian communities. Benefits like the establishment of casinos within the Indian reservations.
We have benefited from our gaming enterprise, and it has helped us establish a scholarship fund for our youth. It's helped us expand our education department. We have established a security department. We call it our tribal security. We've been able to benefit with our infrastructure on the reservation, adding our water lines, septic tanks, and things of that nature. Our road department They maintain our roads. We do still have some government funding to help us with our roads because they're BIA roads.
Businesses that allow Indians from the American side to have a good economic development in their communities. In Mexico, the situation for the Tohono Dam is very different. The colonizers and the Mexican army took huge cultivation fields from the Papagos in the areas of Caborca, Pitiquito, and Sonoita. In present times, the government has restituted to the Papagos, and only through a program of agricultural lands, 15% of their former territory. Not only the past has been time for oppression to the northern Mexico Indians. It is in present times when the abuse over the natives of these lands still continues. In 1993, without any agreement with the ancestral Cucapá Indians, the area of the high Gulf of California and Colorado's Delta is declared as a natural reservation. The place where the Cucapás used to fish as their main economic activity. The reservation is guarded by soldiers of the Mexican Marine Army, and it is prohibited to extract totoaba or any fish in the area. June 2010. 2 fishermen are detained by the Marines. They are jailed for the possession of a totoaba fish in their boat. This is not the only incident in the core area of the Delta. Commonly, complete boats with the totality of the fishing product are confiscated by the Marines. The detention of the last Cucapá fishermen edged the tribe to claim their rights. They finally got their members released. The Cucapá tribe has millenarily lived along the Colorado's Delta. Their traditional fishing was primarily practiced along the river. However, since the construction of the Hoover Dam in Nevada, the water level of the Colorado River in the Mexican side is depressing. Villages like El Mayor face the worst of a crisis in their communities. On April 2010, an earthquake of 7.2 grades strikes the fringe of Cucapá communities and the delta of the Gulf of California. The effects: animals like deer, one of the main subjects of traditional hunting, migrates to the western part of the mountains that surround the village. Some of the houses recently built with government funding are demolished by the earthquake. The roads that take to the fishing spots are inaccessible for the Indians.